Afternoon all. This is my first video for 2018 and it will last as long as I can walk in this cold. My feet are numb. It is so cold. Anyway, we started off with the first work in the garden for this year because even though it was really frosty today, the worst of Storm Eleanor has passed. It was calm and there was actually some good daylight today. So I thought I'd grab the chance and the opportunity to do as much as I can to try and do what I could in preparation for the very heavy frosts coming next week. Well, from tonight onwards, I suppose. And so today I have just made sure I've mulched the beds with more compost just to protect the soil from the frosts. I've emptied the little water butt over there to make room for any extra rain that comes. Let's have a walk around a bit. Okay, we had a massive, lovely load of wood chips delivered from a tree surgeon. Yes, they were fresh when we put them down. Not that good to put down fresh wood chippings right where you're going to be growing stuff, but since the beds are raised and not directly going to be having that wood leaching all the nitrates out of the soil until it starts putting it back in, I'm not too worried. At least it'll keep the ground from being soggy, muddy, clayey mess, and I'll be able to work in the beds because there is some cover there. Oh, look at that glorious sunshine. I better turn the camera a bit, you won't be able to see anything. Oh, sunshine, beautiful. Anyway, on the ground there we've still got the ornamental kale, and that is busy flowering still. It is surviving the frost. It appears to be nice and hardy, and around it on the ground is a ground cover of lamb's lettuce, which we can still harvest from, and the flowers from the ornamental kale are beautifully edible. They're a nice sweet taste to them, and they go in the salads or eat just like that and nibble in. There are seed pods on there as well, so I'm hoping that come the spring they ripen nicely and I can store them and stratify them ready to plant new plants for the next winter. There are still some little violas growing, and I'm leaving them, even though they're not flowering a lot. It's a bit much slower and smaller in the winter, but I'm going to keep all of them. When the flowers come up, they'll be in salads too, and desserts. Over here we've got what's left of a Nepalese cabbage that's overwintering, and I'm just going to leave it and see what happens to that. The celery is still from that plant that I bought at the supermarket, and it sprouted roots and I put it in the ground, and all through the whole of last year from the year before it has carried on growing. We were harvesting leaves to put in food and salads, and the flowers have been feeding the insects. So if there are any insects around this time of the year, they'll have plenty of food between the ornamental kales and the celery. The yacon is still covered by the straw and hopefully protected. I don't know how they're going to do against the frost and the rain, the massive amounts of rain we've had recently. I usually have a lot more straw covering them than that, and they're usually still good to harvest by the end of January, but we'll see how that goes. Because of all the rain that we've had, and probably will still get till the end of February, the water butts are all absolutely full and overflowing, and I don't think it's been a good thing for the soil that I haven't had anywhere to route the water to. So we've put a hose pipe connected to the one that comes from the guttering, and that is going straight to the manhole cover over there to the drains to take the overflow, just to protect the soil. Because if you can see the lawn, this lawn is absolutely ruined. It is a muddy mess. It has never been this bad before. I think it's a combination of the unusual amounts of heavy rain we've had recently, and also the fact that all the dog urinates on the lawn, and the nitrates, I think, don't always help the ground if there's too much of it. But also the fact that we are on the downward end of the slope. As you can see, the houses behind us are at the top of the slope looking down on us. So this slope comes down towards the house. So it's a very wet, muddy, possibly frost pocket. And it hasn't helped the lawn this year. Also, I think it contributed from those water butts that have overflowed and somehow leached under the path. Must have done, to be able to affect the ground this much. So I think the hose pipe in the water butts is a kind of last minute rescue thing, and let's hope it doesn't mess up the soil too much. That spot over there, remove my shadow, will be planted. I've already done a garden plan for this next 2 years, and this whole area here is going to be beds. And the pond is going to go right here where this tire is. I'm going to move the pond over there with beds going over there, and I think the yacon will go there because I need the annual beds. The hedge will be cut back much further, and I will cut away some of the lower branches so I could put fencing in, preparing for when we get chickens, to chicken-proof the garden so they can't escape. Today I have emptied out and turned and layered the compost in the black bin much better, so that I can get heat going in there and keep it composting still. So that has been another job done. Really pleased with that. The pond. Well, every morning when it's been a little bit more frosty, I've just broken up the ice on the top of the pond. It's not a very deep pond, and I do have some swan mussels in there to filter the water. So I think if we are going to be getting temperatures as much as forecast in the next couple of week or two, I thought I'd better just protect that pond a bit more, because the sand is not very deep for the mussels to burrow in the water, and the pond is not very deep, so the water could be a bit too cold for them. So I've covered it with bubble wrap and perspex just to protect it a little bit more, and hopefully if I just keep an eye on it, those swan mussels will survive. They've been very good in helping to clean the water, and hopefully by the time I've moved the pond, we'll have a nice environment for frogs to spawn and give us lots of little helpers to eat all the slugs. These apple trees over here will be moved, because here I'm going to build a frame to put strawberries up off the ground, because I don't want them eaten by the slugs, and at least then I can put a layer of netting across them to protect them from the birds. They're not doing so good in the ground. The birds keep having them, and the slugs too. I don't mind that if there's enough to go around, but this is a small garden. We need to try and feed ourselves more. This whole area is going to be changing. It's still going to be a seating area, and I'm going to be putting the same kind of cover over it as that one. So there'll be a cover right the way from the kitchen window, right the way across to the living room window, and we'll be able to use that area all the year through to be able to sit outside and enjoy nature whatever time of the year. I'm really looking forward to that. And those fruit bushes over there, well, they are all going to be moving along the hedge, that conifer hedge. It'll be more sheltered there anyway, and they'll get more of the south-facing sun, because the south-facing sun hits right in that corner there. So it'll have the sun most of the day there, and underneath will be all sorts of hanging baskets and window boxes and all sorts of beautiful flowers. It's going to be making a new little Eden. I never thought that I would, because this is a rented property, and I didn't want to spend all that time, effort, and even money where I can't recycle stuff if we'd have to ever move again. But I don't intend moving. I don't intend going anywhere, and even if I did, I want the time we live here to be an enjoyable, happy time, and a happy place. And I need nature, I need a garden, and we have been blessed with a humongous garden, really, in comparison to most people. So I am going to go with it, and I'm going to create a beautiful little Eden for our family. So watch this space. Today was the first day in that long journey that I planned for the next 2 years. I'll keep you updated. Have a lovely day, everybody. Bye-bye.